So good morning and welcome to this Signicat and MitID webinar, the 14th in the series of webinars related to MitID. Today is September the 21st, and we are happy to see not only so many of you returning, but also a lot of new faces. So welcome to the family. Today you will be listening to today's panelists, and in the beginning that will be Lars Møller Christensen, our country product manager for MitID, and also Helge Lund Kolsted, our customer success manager based up in our Norwegian office in Trondheim. And yeah, let's just give the new ones a very brief look into who we are here at Signicat. So we are building a trusted digital world, not only handshakes and cats, but bringing trust and security together. So that relates to customers and trust and the technology and security that surrounds that. That is what makes up Signicat. And in this today's specific context, that security and the trust becomes MitID subjects. And on that note, I don't want to say much more about why we are here. We know that you have an interest in finding out more about MitID. And on today's webinar agenda, we have the MitID pilot status update and mass migration news, and that is from Lars. He will also talk you through the MitID communication package that is available for brokers to be shared with clients, and also how to get the PID from UUID later. We know that's a topic that takes up a lot of let's say excitement these days as the official rollout comes even closer. Finally, on migration learnings, Helge Lund Kolsted will take you through how that is going. And at the end, there will be, as always, the possibility of addressing any questions you may have during the session. Press the Q&A button and ask whatever you are either concerned about or curious about, and we will do our very best to answer on the spot. Whatever cannot be answered here, we will also post on our web pages for you to visit at early convenience, basically. So with that, I think I will hand over the microphone to you, Lars, and start on the MitID pilot status.
Thank you, Henrik, and good morning, everybody. We have had several of these webinars, and we have ramped up for the final date of MitID being rolled out to all Danish citizens. And we have, for the past couple of months, been running in the pilot phase, which some of you may know and also have been participating in. The last numbers is that there are more than 3,000 MitID pilot end users, and these are still employees from the banks, from brokers, service providers, Digitaliseringsstyrelsen, support organizations, etc. I think we can say that the pilot phase has been fulfilling the aim of getting a first initial test of the infrastructure behind MitID, but certainly also to make sure all processes are working, the migration process, the support processes, and documentation and stuff like that. So it's really excited to learn or know that the mass migration will begin October 6th. So the pilot phase will end and the mass migration will begin October 6th in a couple of weeks' time. This means that all the MitID app will be available in App Store, both Android and iOS, of course. The IP whitelisting on MitID DK will, of course, be removed, and the banks will initiate their migration processes for all of us as customers at the banks. So that's really exciting for us. I've been working with this for more than 2 years. Finally, to see that we are getting started with the real value of this new piece of infrastructure. The prognosis is still the same as from June. The slide you see here, or the picture you see here, is from a meeting hosted by Digitaliseringsstyrelsen in mid-June. So the aim is still in October to ramp up to about 400,000 users. But then in November, around 1 million end users will be getting their MitID migrated to MitID, and the same or even more for December moving forward. But I think we will probably soon see a bit more accurate numbers here. And still, June 30th next year, 2022, will be the end of MitID. So this was just an update on the pilot phase, which is now being taken over by the mass migration phase and the real life of MitID to begin. Second part of the agenda here is on a MitID communication package. We have had an early version of this a couple of months ago that we shared a link to. Now we have a much more thorough or much more extensive communication package with branding material, design manuals, content for social media, a lot of guides, FAQ, videos, a lot of interesting stuff. And if you take the next one, Henrik, we have this as a zip file with a 400 megabytes of graphical material and illustrations. And if you look at when you unzip the file or get access to these files, you will have this start here. It's in Danish, unfortunately. We have been told by Digitaliseringsstyrelsen that some of it will be available in English later. But if you start with a start here, you will get an overview of the package, the content of the package, and especially the folder called number 2, the top folder on the left side, the campaign element or campaign elements, is really a thorough package or sub-package with a lot of content which is described in the meta section. So this is just to emphasize that it is really, there's a lot of information, a lot of content in this package that you should pay attention to and see what you could use on your websites. There will be, or there are slides for info monitors. There are a lot of guides, there are brand animations, really a lot of stuff that is can be value for you as service providers to share with your end users or use somehow internally at your support organization or customer service or whatever structure of your organization and whatever strategy you have for sharing these type of information with your end users. Yes, let's take the next one. One of the contents in the package is FAQ, spørgsmål og svar, around MitID, and that's a Word document only with one link that points to Digitaliseringsstyrelsens web page on MitID, so that they have begun putting in information around MitID, and here you will be able to get answers on some of the most basic questions before you get MitID, when you get MitID, and the security behind MitID, and also getting help on MitID. There's a heavy or a support setup where you can get help with your MitID, and this could be maybe a good place to link to, and maybe for your customer service departments or people resources, also to know and learn a bit about how you can use this in your way of handling MitID in your organization and on your web applications. The next one is how to get this package. We will, of course, update the one we have on developer pages. We haven't managed to do that yet. So if you want access now, please send us an email to mitid@signicat.com, and we will reply with a SharePoint link to download, so you can get the package and start using it throughout your organization. And one final thing on this is that please respect the publishing restrictions mentioned many places in the package and the material. Not using it before October 6th and October 9th, also for some of the parts of the content. So yeah, either wait for the link to be ready on developer pages, or let us know if you want access right away. A part of the package is this communication plan, and I think it's worth for you as service providers to notice that the two burst 1 and burst 2, which will be or will lead to a massive information campaign and a massive MitID awareness. So there will be TV commercials, there will be ads, a lot of different stuff that will be sent out with the two owners of MitID, the Digitaliseringsstyrelsen and the banks, all the banks as owners. So your end users will probably notice MitID and maybe also somehow expect you to have some kind of information or to share, or that they can use it or whatever, or at least you can prepare some messaging around your status on MitID. And that will begin maybe not 6 or 9, but at least in the beginning of October or mid-October, burst 1 will run, and there will be a burst 2 activity period after New Year or late ultimo January, end of January. So that's the information, and you can also see on the top here that they will target different segments split in different ages. Yeah, and you can study that when you get access to the package and find out how you will see your activities in relation to this campaign from the Digitaliseringsstyrelsen and the banks. This is actually one of the main messages in the communication package. This is how you get MitID, and the message is that you shouldn't do anything. You just wait until you get a message from your bank. So when you log into your net bank or mobile bank, you will get a notification saying now it's your turn to get MitID, and you will then have 30 days to migrate. It's also possible to get MitID on MitID DK, but in the standard flow or the standard message is that you are not expected to do anything. Just wait until the banks notifies you that it's your turn, and you just go through the flow. And the flow, by the way, is also in the package, the communication package. You can see the steps each user has to go through when they are being migrated from MemID to MitID. Yeah, so that was the information on the communication package. And again, if you are eager to get access, please let us know. Send a mail to mitid@signicat.com, and we will make sure you get a download link for this material. The last topic I have to share here is a challenge you as service providers might have if you are using MemID, using the PID from MemID as a primary key for your for your end users. This is probably best practice to implement when you think of privacy and security, because the alternative would be that you have the CPR number as primary key for your end users. And we see more and more service providers, they really would like to avoid using the CPR number due to all the restrictions and compliance rules, regulations. So the case here is that if you use MitID PID, the number from MitID as the primary key for your end users, you will have a challenge the first time an end user using MitID on your web application, because you will not recognize the MitID UUID, but you will be missing the PID from MitID. UUID in MitID is more or less the same in a conceptual way as PID is in MitID. UUID is lifted to a new standard way of handling unique identifiers according to EIDAS. Yeah, that doesn't change the challenge you have missing the PID to find the record of your end user trying to use MitID. So what we have been looking into is that we would like to include the PID in our MitID response for service providers that are using the SigniCAT MitID CPR match add-on. And the flow will look like this. The end user uses MitID plus CPR number at your website. This is using the CPR number has nothing to do with you are expected to store the CPR number, but the user just enters the CPR number, and we do the MitID UUID to CPR match, make sure that the MitID and the CPR is the same user. And then we can get the PID from an MitID CPR match service that the Digitaliseringsstyrelsen they are about to release that service. We have been chasing it for close to 2 months, and we got information last evening that they are struggling or missing the final terms and conditions for this service for both brokers and service providers, and expected to be ready within a week or so. We'll have a pilot forum meeting this afternoon with Digitaliseringsstyrelsen and hope to learn more about this. So we will take the CPR number, we will get the PID from this MitID service, and then you as a service provider, you will receive both the MitID UUID, the CPR number, if you want to use that, and the PID number from MitID in the response from SigniCAT. And then, of course, you are able to add the UUID together with the PID, so you have both identifiers for your end users until MitID has end of life. But please bear in mind, this is subject to final specifications. We haven't received the final specifications for the service from Digitaliseringsstyrelsen. This is, of course, very unfortunate because a lot of you are really missing this, and you have long release cycles, test phases and stuff like that. But we are just in the middle here, not being able to do much about it. So awaiting the final specifications. Of course, the alternative would be to set up a flow where if you get a MitID and you cannot recognize a user, you will have to prompt the user for using MitID as well, and then you can do this match or combination yourself. But that will, of course, lead to a double authentication, first with MitID, then with MitID, and probably not the best user experience. So we hope to be able to share more of this in a week's time, for sure. Yeah, that was all for me. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lars. And I will then hand the microphone over to Helge to talk us through a little bit of our migration learnings before we start taking your questions at the end.
Thank you. Welcome to my little corner of this webinar. I'm going to talk here about what we've learned so far during the pilot. We have onboarded several customers without any issue at all. It has been, in fact, more painless than we anticipated beforehand. And we have 50 customers currently that have currently been onboarded or are being onboarded as we speak. But we are not, of course, in proper production. This is still the pilot, and the statistics that we have extracted still show very much a usage pattern typical of tests. So we expect this to change shortly, of course. So how are our customers and other people we're talking to treating this? Experience shows that most people are not terribly concerned, at least not yet. And we have a suspicion that this is because nothing has been communicated yet, as Lars talked about. Some are still on the fence as to when they should implement MitID in their portfolio. However, if you recognize yourself in this description, you're not the only one. And we are a bit concerned that there might be a big rush on the day. And of course, we have a capacity which might not be able to handle a big rush immediately. So it does pay to prepare early, and if you have the opportunity at all to start implementing MitID before October 6th, we would advise you to do so. That's about all I had for today.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Helge. And yeah, I think it just goes to show that the information campaign from Digitaliseringsstyrelsen is much awaited, not only by end users on the other end, but as service providers and brokers alike. So that concluded the form agenda points that we shared with you. We always have these collateral links that we share with you, not only to our developer pages where we talk you through all about what's worth knowing about MitID, the front-end setup, how the requests are made, what you get back, etc. We have our blog posts, we have our test service for a demo environment that you can try out. We have a MitID e-guide and all kinds of different links and solutions in there that we would advise you to take a look at if you haven't done so already. And with that, I think we will include our nice back office team to post the questions that have been raised during the webinar. And I don't know, I can see some buttons lighting up. So Dorte, do you have anything that's come in while we've been talking?
Yes, and I actually, just a minute, we have a few questions. The first one, you've said MitID continues until next year. So we can use both methods until then? That's the first question.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys want me to take that one, but yes, that is correct. Your MitID will work until June 30th of next year. So the time schedule says today. And we do offer the possibility on the advanced graphical profile add-on that we can actually create a fallback link between the two methods. So should someone accidentally click the MitID link before they've been migrated, we can, you can say basically transfer them to a familiar looking MitID window, and of course also vice versa. There is a little industry agreement between the banks saying once you've been migrated, you can no longer use your MitID for banking business, but you can still use your MitID for everything else until MitID has its end of life in June of next year, right in the middle of summer vacation. So I hope that answered the question. So yeah,
very well.
Any other questions?
Yes, a few other questions. Any additional expected costs using this service to get PID?
I think that's the country product manager to respond to one.
I can take that one. Yeah. No, we don't expect any additional costs. As I said, we haven't got that much information from Digitaliseringsstyrelsen yet, but we will definitely we will not add extra cost from Signicat side for this during the migration period.
I hope that was a happy answer to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And another question. It isn't your plan to ask for the CPR at every login, right? I think that's for you also, maybe, Lars.
Oops.
Yeah, as you can say, our service is able to run, you can say in three ways. You can either, when you use the broker service, MitID broker service from Signicat, you can set up the MitID authentication with or without CPR match. The different use cases. If you want CPR match every time, you choose that. If you don't want CPR match every time, you leave it out. And in the CPR match, you actually have the end user have the ability to tick off the remember me at this service provider. Then the CPR number will be remembered for 30, is it 30 or 90 days, Helge? Can't remember, 90 days.
It's 90.
90 days, and before they will be prompted for the CPR number again, if you uses the get CPR match at every login. So two different ways to use our service. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think what is going to be the last question and answer for today. Do you have an ETA for when your service within MitID PID is ready in test and production?
It's still very difficult to say. I can only say that we had a new sprint started last Thursday, and we actually had an open seat. If we got the specification from Digitaliseringsstyrelsen, we had an open seat for putting that on the sprint, but we didn't get it. So it's really one of our top priorities to assist you with this as soon as we are able to. Hopefully be able to put it directly into development phase. It's a very minor change, but still we need to, of course, implement it, test it, run through quality assurance and all the normal procedures we do with these kind of services. I think there was an add-on question here. Is the CPR match required to get the MitID PID? And it is. The CPR match is required because we need the CPR number to get the PID from MitID. So it is, and you can say an add-on or included in the CPR match add-on. So I think that was the last one, Dorte.
Lovely. Well, then we will say, if you still haven't either chosen a broker, or you are still curious, or just have questions about MitID, feel free to reach out to us or book a MitID migration consultation. It's free of charge, and you can book it on our web. Because, as you know, the video is not allowed. We look forward to seeing you again in about a month's time. We'll communicate not only that date for the next webinar with you, but also whenever we have it. So from all of us here, again, thank you very much for joining us, and have a great day.